When you put a modern person in an ancient institution, they will be destroyed. Anyone would be destroyed.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 shocking reveals in the Princess documentary.
I think we've got an unhealthy obsession with the royal family. The monarchy now is in danger of being glared out of existence.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most scandalous, controversial, and unbelievable anecdotes and facts uncovered in the latest Diana documentary. What surprised you the most about the princess? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Diana's tragic story inspired change. In August 1997, Diana, Dodi Al-Fayed, and their driver desperately tried to escape a relentless paparazzi car chase through Paris.
Princess Diana has been injured gravely. It's been reported, allegedly.
Not allegedly. They had pictures. We're watching it on CNN.
Sadly, we all know how that ended. As a result, 9 photographers who mercilessly pursued them were initially charged with manslaughter. Additionally, 3 photographers who invasively photographed the fatal scene had their pictures confiscated.
Police have arrested at least 7 so-called paparazzi who were allegedly chasing the car at very high speed.
They just keep breaking the news over and over again.
However, this tragedy also inspired changes to laws and policies regarding paparazzi behavior. In the UK, the Press Complaints Commission ordered that the media can't engage in persistent or aggressive conduct.
You, press that killed her. You're the scum. Get here to click the phone.
Meanwhile, in 1998, California passed a law prohibiting photographers from trespassing on private property. These laws are constantly being revised, reworked, and tightened, but there's still a long way to go. Number 9. Shoppers learn of Diana's pregnancy. Let us paint you a picture. It's a crisp November day in 1981. You live in the UK and you go to a Sainsbury's to pick up some groceries. While you stand there deliberating with a trifle in one hand and Viennetta in the other, an announcement breaks your train of thought.
It is with the greatest of pleasure that the Crown Court wishes to tell you that Buckingham Palace has just announced that the Princess of Wales is expecting a baby in June.
Well, if you'd been in this particular branch of the British supermarket, you would have been just informed via loudspeaker that Princess Diana is pregnant with the future heir to the throne. The documentary shows this thoroughly British moment and the joyful response that followed. Stocking up on groceries isn't typically eventful, but this was a shopping experience for the books.
We are sure you will join us in congratulating the Prince and Princess.
Number 8. The Diana Tattoo Frenzy. The documentary shows how Britain came down with royal wedding fever in the lead-up to Diana and Prince Charles's wedding.
Yes, at times like this, Britain is at its very best. No matter what concerns us, like having no money, no jobs, and riots in the street, we're doing our bit as a celebration to the regal pair.
Some royalists wanted to wear their support on their sleeves, or skin if we're being more precise. One of the more unexpected superfans shown in The Princess is a youthful skinhead who asks for a tattoo of Diana's face on his leg. Talk about a hardcore commitment.
You're next in the queue for a Charles and a Di. Where are you going to have your tattoo put?
On the other side of my leg.
Well, this is the biggest thing since Farrah Fawcett Major.
An interviewee reveals they hadn't seen such demand for a hairstyle since Charlie's Angels star Farrah Fawcett Majors. Sadly, as we're also shown, the next time the British public would rally in this magnitude would be after Diana's untimely passing.
Don't even know why we're here, what we're doing here. Didn't think they was that important to us, you know. There you are.
Number 7. A Life in the Public Eye. Unlike previous Diana documentaries, this one turns the camera around and puts the public and media under the spotlight.
How many people in this audience think that the press ought to lay off the poor girl? That was about 90 to 1, I thought.
It shows the unyielding tenacity of photographers after their money shots, and the heartless scrutiny of the press. It also shows how wider society loved nothing more than to put Diana on a pedestal, only to brutally and repeatedly tear it down. She might have been the people's princess, but she wasn't universally beloved.
untold damage to the royal family. I bet you she'll be back. She'll do a song and dance act to get back on the front pages. And I think she's very close to being a monster.
In the trailer, words like monster and sick mind are thrown about. Diana even tried appealing to the press with a speech, to no avail.
I will be seeking a more suitable way of combining a meaningful public role with, hopefully, a more private life.
Meanwhile, a veiled pap audaciously blamed the public, saying they just take the photos and, quote, the buck stops with the readers.
All we do is take pictures. The decision to buy the pictures is taken by the picture editors of the world, and they buy the pictures so their readers can see them. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with the readers.
Number 6. Her turbulent marriage to Prince Charles. Lady Di and Prince Charles's rocky relationship has been well documented. Thanks to The Crown, many of us were shocked to learn that their first interview as an engaged couple was as outrageous as the fictional show portrayed.
You both look very much in love.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Whatever in love means.
The documentary revisits those early days and highlights so many red flags that we wish we could have told the young Di to make a run for it. Still, they had their picture-perfect wedding, but life was far from a fairy tale.
But fairy tales usually end at this point with the simple phrase, they lived happily ever after.
Among their countless problems, Prince Charles struggled with living in his wife's shadow. At one point, he's heard joking that people tell him he's the lucky one in their relationship.
I've come to the conclusion that really it would have been far easier to have had 2 wives. To have covered both sides of the street.
Over time, his bitterness and resentment grew, as the documentary details. Number 5. Always the people's princess. As we've well established, Diana was hardly ever more than a few feet away from photographers. Some believe she had accepted this necessary evil in her life.
But I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become, nor the extent to which it would affect both my public duties and my personal life.
Still, we often hear how much their relentlessness plagued her. Even so, during one remarkable moment in The Princess, we watch Di exiting an airport with a tennis racket barely hiding her face from the unforgiving paparazzi.
They brought the cameras in. They encouraged examination of themselves by the media. You can't turn the paparazzi on and off, as they're trying to do.
However, she spots a young fan with flowers and can't resist breaking away and going over to the little girl. It's really sweet and moving to see how her soft spot for kids still takes over even when she's being hounded.
Out. O-U-T, out.
It's a heart-melting moment that exemplifies why she was so loved. Number 4. A shocking love triangle. Diana famously said,
"Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded."
Indeed, this love triangle is about as infamously messy as they come. But you might be wondering, what more could we possibly learn?
I want to see my way along you. Whatever you haven't done yet in the night.
The tapes are frankly filthy. They're disgusting. I wouldn't allow my daughter, aged 15, to read them.
The documentary addresses the leaked phone call between the prince and Camilla while both were still married to other people. In this intimate exchange, they're heard discussing their desire to be together and making explicit jokes.
Well, the real hypocrisy is pretending that there is any other reason for producing the contents of these tapes than to sell newspapers.
You're going to turn into a pair of knickers. God forbid a toe-pack.
The conversation supposedly took place in 1989, but was leaked in 1993. Just a month after Diana and Charles's separation. He was apparently, quote, deeply ashamed by the scandal and the embarrassment he caused his mother and children. A similar phone call, reportedly between Diana and her alleged lover James Gilby, was also released a year earlier.
Here are the tapes for yourself. The Sun has been inviting its readers. More than 120,000 have done just that.
I don't want to get pregnant.
Darling, it's not going to happen.
Number 3. The scandalous Panorama interview. In 1995, Diana sat down for an interview with Martin Bashir for BBC's Panorama. She was at her most open, candid, and vulnerable, discussing a plethora of personal subjects such as her marriage and mental health. It was considered one of the most groundbreaking exclusives and was watched by millions.
10:41, the national grid recorded a 1,000 megawatt surge. 300,000 kettles were being switched on. At least 15 million viewers were busy brewing.
The interview has always been considered controversial, but in 2021, an investigation uncovered that Bashir used, quote, deceitful behavior and violated BBC editorial conduct to secure the sensational expose.
The report has found what was alleged, which was that Martin Bashir commissioned fake bank statements and showed them to Earl Spencer. And the report says that by showing him the statements, Bashir had deceived him.
The BBC has since apologized and vowed never to show it again. However, you can see footage from this now discredited episode in the Princess documentary.
What do we do with her?
Can't we pack her off to somewhere quietly rather than campaign against her?
She won't go quietly. That's the problem. I'll fight till the end.
But with this new information, it all hits very differently. Number 2. Not everyone wanted to pay their respects. You've likely seen the footage documenting the hordes of mourners who came to pay their respects following Diana's tragic passing.
This is her nation, and they should know how all her people feel about Diana.
We've seen people lay flowers at the palace gates, cry over her loss, and come together in mourning. Shockingly, the princess shows that not everyone who turned up at Kensington Palace was there to grieve.
You are telling people, get a life. Well, in fact, haven't they gotten a life?
Well, they've got no choice but to get a life. She's not coming back. We can get on without her, right? It wasn't such a big deal.
British author and journalist Christopher Hitchens arrived at the palace gardens to essentially tell Diana's bereft admirers to get over it. One man rebukes this insensitive response, but Hitchens only doubles down, insulting the individual and accusing him of, quote, having brain rot. No one asked Hitchens to love Diana, but this was a time of grief, so why did he think his presence was needed?
I shouldn't be in these gardens. Who the hell are you? You look, I think you're about as smart as you look. You see what brain rot descends on people.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Diana's family vouch for her virginity. As with many celebrities, the public wanted Diana to be the sexy virgin. However, the latter was super important if she were to marry into the royal family.
Felt that he had to, by some sort of obligation, choose a woman who had not had any previous partners and was clearly seen as a very suitable catch.
Naturally, the wife of Britain's future king had to be pure and untouched. Even in 1980, this outdated idea led to a cruel running joke that Charles chose Diana because she was, quote, the only aristocratic virgin left in England. However, the most unbelievable revelation came from Princess Di's own family.
Sweet, kind, nice, and shy are all the terms used to describe her, and her father, her uncle Lord Fermoy, and others have even vouched for her virginity.
Her uncle spoke to a tabloid called the Daily Star and confirmed his niece's virginity. Seemingly everyone wanted to paint Diana as virtuous and chaste.
That once an institution starts destroying people, it's time to recognize that there is something fundamentally wrong with that institution.
But they happily stripped away her innocence in their hunger for a piece of her story. Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.